Hello, my name's Jeff Baker, and if you've been following any of the other clips that I've been doing, you'll know that I've been working with Unix since about the middle to late 80s. In those days it was all corporate big stuff, and I've worked with all the big names. Coming from before Unix, I did the normal progression of VAX VMS, ICL's George 3, and a couple of really weird ones which probably don't exist and probably nobody's ever heard of. Anyway, I say, back to the Unix side. When I started it was all big stuff for Unix, didn't really have a choice. I first came across Unix on a PC running, I think it was called Minix, and it was amazing. I think it was a 286, I think it was before the days even of a 386. But it was one of those two anyway. Very impressed. And anyway, time went on. I tried out Slackware when that was popular, and SUSE for a long time, and changed to Ubuntu quite a while after that when Ubuntu started taking off. So I've been around a little bit. I'm mostly experienced with the KDE desktop because my first experiences of a GUI on Unix was Xmotif, and KDE I felt pretty comfortable with. Anyway, I recently discovered the Raspberry Pi, and I've been trying different things out to experiment on the Pi. I saw that they did a couple of flavours of Unix, or Linux, and I tried Mate because I've seen a whole load of news about Mate being apparently the best thing since sliced bread, and was very disappointed, as I've already put a YouTube video out to say that, which is a shame because I was really excited and looking forward to Mate being good. Anyway, I noticed I also do Ubuntu desktop. I've been using K Ubuntu 18.4 for quite a while now, and so great, let's give it a try. Got myself a Pi 4, loaded it up, and the install process went very smoothly. It's different to the K install process, but essentially it's all intuitive and makes sense. I'm using a cable network to save messing around with setting up Wi-Fi's and things. Everything's good. One thing that did surprise me, I don't know if this is normal on normal Ubuntu desktop. There was no options there to partition disks and choose how I wanted disks. I suspect that's a variation on Pi, because basically you only got the one, it's the SD card. But anyway, that was just an observation. Apart from that, everything went well. Booted up afterwards, and during installation I set to auto login, so I don't have to worry about that. It's easy when you're just messing around with things. Security risk, but much easier for messing around with stuff. And pleasantly surprised, the desktop, very clean, very tidy. I'm a great believer in that computers should be usable by everyone, and whilst 20 years ago I would have been horrified to say that I actually shared any thought in common with Microsoft, I actually do now, in that whilst many of their products in those days were less than reliable and stable, they did at least try to make computers easier to use for people that weren't experts, and I agree with that now, and it's a good thing. So the GNOME desktop, very nice, very intuitive for people who are not techie. Nice little sidebar with the popular apps, and then driven from the button bar at the bottom, which brings up all the list of installed things. Very good, easy to use again if you're not techie. It's nice to see it came pre-installed with Office. It's LibreOffice, which I'm familiar with. Ubuntu pretty much changed over to that quite a long time ago. I seem to remember it was OpenOffice before, and they moved over at some point. And so that was nice to see, very familiar. Thunderbird, already pre-installed. All I had to do was type in just the simple config stuff. Great. Firefox, again, very easy to use, very popular. So all in all, quite good. Now, one of my big things about Mate is, apart from the fact the installation was a nightmare and I had to attempt several times, getting multiple errors on each occasion. I never actually got 100% clean install. I always had to fudge it some way. With Ubuntu on Pi, it went straight in, sweet as it could be. So that was a nice thing. So I thought, well, on Mate, when I actually did get something running, the performance was abysmal. It was not usable. It was absolutely dreadful. And I thought, well, maybe Unix running on such a small device as a Pi, it's a dream, nice dream. Well, I was really surprised with Ubuntu. They've done a fantastic job, and it is very, very usable. To the point where I thought, I'll get a bit carried away here. Let's just see what it can do. So I opened up and started running a YouTube video. Sound, reasonable quality. I thought, right. Opened up Thunderbird, configured an email account which I use as a test email account, which only my own server, I have the luxury of being able to play around with quite a few different email settings and things. And I've got one that is absolutely enormous. So that set Thunderbird off, synchronising up with the server. I was using IMAP for, well, I guess actually if you're looking at this then you are at least somewhat technical rather than a complete beginner. So that was syncing, YouTube was playing. Right, let's write a document. I did. And it was all going really well, and I was deliberately switching between the windows, doing things, and the response time was excellent. It was very responsive, to the point where you actually forgot you were using the Pi. You would easily be drawn into thinking you were using a pretty decent spec PC. So feeling on a pretty good mood, and pretty good, especially after, I say, that disappointment that was Mate. Thought, right, let's really make it do some work. So I tried to install GIMP, and I used the software application called, not Boutique, that's a different one. Discover is the K Ubuntu. Anyway, their software installation tool. And unfortunately that failed, and it didn't give me any reasons why. I'm sure if I'd done it by hand, there would have been a lot more info. Well, okay, fair enough. Let's try some development work. Let's really get it working hard. Tried for NetBeans. Found a link that I could use. Sadly, that didn't work. It was on 8.2, I think it was trying to install. A bit out of date, but still, yeah, pretty decent. I'm currently using 12 something for my main development on desktops. Okay, do a bit of googling around, and there does appear that it does work on Raspberry Pi, but you've got to install it and then build it on the Pi. So that's alright. That's not saying NetBeans doesn't work, it's just saying the installer isn't functioning at the moment. They probably need to make a few tweaks, whatever. I'm sure that will follow on with time. So overall, very pleased to say it's impressive. It's good. For such a cheap computer, you've actually got a very usable, very decent piece of kit. Yeah, it's very difficult to find, as I'm sure you all know, a computer that is usable for some real stuff that's in the price range of the Pi. Probably the most expensive thing would be the monitor, if you want a decent sized monitor. It supports HDMI format. On the Pi 4 it's the small one, I think it's the micro. HDMI, it's either the mini or the micro, I think it's the micro. So okay, big deal. Slightly odd cable. Keyboards, mouse. You can get a wireless mouse and keyboard pack with the dongle that plugs in, so you don't have to set up Bluetooth or anything like that. Don't have to mess around, just plug that in. I picked one of them up recently for under £20 from when I lived in the States a long time ago. Roughly what cost me £20 in the UK cost me about $20 in the US. That was a long time ago, but I'm guessing it's still along the same lines. So cheap enough for a keyboard. And that's it. It's very good. If you're thinking about getting into development, or if you just want a really convenient PC that you can carry around in your bag, on a train, you can use it. The power supply, yeah, you can use the mains one, but also I've got a battery power supply which is used to top up phones and tablets and things like that, which I use when I go out travelling, don't have access to mains. Powered it off that and it lasted for a good couple of hours just running off the battery. So you're not even tied to a mains connection. It's a great option. Budget value. Really does actually pack a decent punch for its size, and certainly is fighting above its weight. As you can tell, I'm videoing outside and I'm sure you've heard the birds, and well, thanks to British Rail, that doesn't exist anymore, thanks to the trains, until I live near a train station. Certainly fighting a punch above its weight. Fantastic option, worth considering. Probably in competition is going to be a laptop these days, a lot bigger than a Pi, a lot more expensive than a Pi. Other option, tablets. There's only so much. I've not tried the Mac tablet. I use Mac sometimes when I have to for developing iPhone stuff. I mostly use Unix, but you can't develop iPhone stuff, or Apple tell you, and I believe them, that you can't develop iPhone stuff unless you do it on a Mac. So I've got one and I use it for that. So I don't know about the Mac tablet, but I'm guessing it's similar to the Android tablets, of which I've got a couple. Yeah, you can do things, but they're great for what they are. But they are a tablet. They're mainly fantastic for viewing things, looking at things. Could you really do any development work? I've tried a few times on my tablets, and Android isn't up to the mark. Not yet. I'm sure it will be one day, but not yet. So it's worth considering. And one thing about filming outside, trusty notebook, and I mean the real paper type. Anyway, thanks for listening, and hopefully this has been useful to you. And if you do get a Pi, it's definitely worth taking a look at the Ubuntu version. I'll move on and now start having to play with the actual Raspbian operating system. I'm looking forward to getting onto that one, which I'll do soon, and also come back with a review on that one. But so far, the verdict is Raspberry and OS looks interesting, but I haven't had a chance to really play with it. Ubuntu desktop, fantastic. Mate, some fantastic ideas in it, but my experience, disaster. Thanks for your time, have a good day.